Margaret, are you really going to publish what a Russian propagandist says?
Vladimir Putin's envoy, who is here in the United States, said the sanctions will have, quote, absolutely no effect on Russia's economy. They will simply lead to higher prices at gas stations in the United States.
I mean, what else is he going to say? What do you think is going to happen to him if he goes back home and says, this is terrible, President Trump just did the right thing?
Oh, take that, Margaret, because it's true. Oh, this is gonna be good. Margaret Brennan of Face the Nation decided to throw Russia propaganda at a veteran economist, treasury guy, and billionaire, Scott Bessent, who is out doing negotiation for deals for Trump in Asia. It's Sean Daniel here. Hit the like button for not one, not two, but probably 3 or 4 ridiculous moments that Margaret Brennan has here where she tries to pressure Scott Bessent like he's not a pro, like he's a little kindergartner doing his first interview.
We spoke just a short while ago with Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, who has been leading the trade talks with China in advance of the meeting between the leaders of the world's 2 largest economies. We asked the secretary whether or not the president's threat to impose a 155% tariff on China effective November 1st was still on the table.
Margaret, I think we had a very good 2-day meeting. I would believe that so it would be an extra 100% from where we are now. And I believe that that is effectively off the table. I'm not going to get ahead of the 2 leaders who will be meeting in Korea on Thursday, but I can tell you we had a very good 2 days, so I would expect that the threat of the 100% has gone away, as has the threat of the immediate imposition of the Chinese initiating a worldwide export control regime.
That export control on rare earths, which is used in all sorts of electronics and automobiles, that'll be lifted?
Well, it was never imposed. So they threatened to impose it in December, and President Trump, to give me and the trade team leverage, decided that it would be a good idea for him to threaten 100% additional tariff, and it did give us a great deal of leverage. President Trump's very good at creating leverage for us. This is the 5th meeting that we've had with the Chinese. My Chinese counterpart is the Vice Premier, Ho Feng. So we had a very good 2 days. We discussed a wide variety of issues, from the rare earth magnets to trade to substantial purchases of American agricultural products to the Chinese helping us in this fentanyl crisis that we have in the U.S.
I don't know why some people in the media try to act like it's a bad thing when Trump uses a threat of tariffs as one of the most powerful economies in the world, one of the top 2. They switch, I'm sure, sometimes, China and the U.S. They use that as they label that as a bad thing. If you have power, what is wrong with using that power as a threat to put America first? Something to keep in mind with this interview, Scott Bessent is over in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. You see the sun back here, so it's probably mid-afternoon, late afternoon. That means Margaret over here has to come into the studio and do this interview that's pre-recorded at probably 5 a.m., maybe 4 a.m., so she had to come into the studio probably 2 a.m. So this is an early morning for her, and she's got to be sharp and aware. And that's not an easy thing to do, even if you're a professional like her.
On the purchases of American goods, American farmers have been hit hard by China's boycott of American soybeans that went into place after the tariff war began here. The administration's pumping at least $3 billion in financial aid to farmers to help make them whole, or at least offset the pain. Can farmers expect to sell their soybeans to China again, and when?
Margaret, I'm not going to give you the details here, but I can tell you that the soybean farmers are going to be extremely happy with this deal for this year and for the coming years.
A few weeks ago, there was a photographer who snapped a photo of you texting with the agricultural secretary about this. She indicated concern about the unintended damage to American farmers from the U.S. financial lifeline being given to Argentina. because that country was able to sell more to China. That gave Beijing leverage over the United States. Is that leverage still a problem today?
What a snake of a photographer to try to influence international negotiations by trying to sneak a photo of the phone of the Treasury Secretary that only hurts us and helps China be in a better situation.
Well, first of all, that the text from Secretary Rollins was talking about a purchase of soybeans that the Chinese did, and Margaret, those soybeans were always going to get purchased. They just did it at a time when the Argentines had lifted their export taxes. So, you know, those soybeans were always going to be on the market. It's a global market. The three leading suppliers are Brazil, Argentina, and the U.S. And I believe that we have brought the market back into equilibrium. And I believe that the Chinese will be making substantial purchases again.
So you dispute the idea that America hurt itself by giving this $20 billion lifeline to Argentina. Can you guarantee Americans they'll be made whole on that?
Margaret, I can tell you that the Exchange Stabilization Fund has never lost money. It will not lose money this time. And we are not giving money to Argentina. It is a swap line, which the U.S. has done many times in the past, and we've never lost money.
So according to Google, a swap line is an agreement between central banks to exchange their currencies, essentially a temporary loan. The primary purpose is to provide liquidity during financial crisis, allowing a foreign central bank to swap its currency for a major one, like the US dollar, to lend its domestic banks. These lines are a key tool for central banks, particularly the Federal Reserve, to stabilize global markets by ensuring a steady flow of dollars where needed. So if that is a loan, and if we are getting some percentage back on that loan, I'm not sure if that works, or even if we're not, Scott Bessent says we are not going to lose money on that.
On the Chinese, I saw that you mentioned TikTok was discussed. Are the details of the president's executive order released in September, are those finalized? Has China agreed to give up control of the algorithm that determines what users see?
Margaret, we reached a final deal on TikTok. We'd reached one in Madrid, and I believe that as of today, all the details are ironed out, and that will be for the two leaders to consummate that transaction on Thursday in Korea.
Can you tell us any details of that transaction?
Margaret, I'm not part of the commercial side of the transaction. My remit was to get the Chinese to agree to approve the transaction, and I believe we successfully accomplished that over the past 2 days.
Over the past 2 days, did the U.S. make any concessions here beyond what we discussed with the tariffs? Are you dropping restrictions on exports of, for example, semiconductor chips, or restrictions on Chinese investment in the United States?
There have been no changes in our export controls.
When Presidents Xi and Trump are able to speak on Thursday, do you believe that the president's position here, his ability to negotiate a deal with China, is going to be hurt by the fact that he's been unable to get a deal here at home to reopen the U.S. government?
Well, look,
his position here, his ability to negotiate a deal with China, is going to be hurt by the fact that he's been unable.
Do you really think the Chinese are going to meet with Trump and his cabinet and be like, well, you guys are in a weak position because you can't open your own government and you can't make a deal there, so you can't make a deal with us?
To get a deal here at home to reopen the U.S. government?
Well, look, I don't think it's going to. I don't think it's going to hurt. It's a global embarrassment what these Democratic senators are doing, keeping the government shut down. I mean, look at the numbers. It's 52-3, 52 Republican senators, 3 Democratic senators have come across the line. So I just think it's an embarrassment. doesn't affect his ability on the international stage. Now, what it does affect, it's starting to affect the economy. It's starting to slow down air traffic. And I would urge moderate Democrats to be heroes, come across the aisle like they did in the spring and pass a clean CR.
A continuing resolution just to fund the government without any add-ons. Does that mean when the president comes back to the United States, he's going to summon congressional leaders to the White House to end what you call the global embarrassment?
I don't know what good it does to summon them to the White House. This is a Democratic-led boycott, and I'm just not sure what they're doing. What's changed between now and March other than Chuck Schumer's poll numbers? And I think Hakeem Jeffries is now going to be primaried from the left, and I didn't think there was a lot of room over there. So both of them are worried about their primaries and not the American people, not the government employees, not our military employees, because we were able to pay the military employees from excess funds at the Pentagon middle of this month. I think we'll be able to pay them beginning in November, but by November 15th, our troops and service members who are willing to risk their lives aren't going to be able to get paid. What an embarrassment.
And we're going to hear Hakeem Jeffries' response later in this video. I'll link it up here if you want to watch it now, but I'll have it at the end of the video as well, where he responds to a lot of this stuff from Scott Bessent, or he tries to respond to it. And also let me know in the comments if you guys think we're going to get this government shutdown settled by November 15th, when Scott Bessent's saying we're not going to have that much money left to pay even our troops. Because I don't see why the Democrats would budge at all if they can continue to paint it, in their eyes, on their networks, as a Trump bad move by not opening the government, all to help their poll numbers. Because the more anti-Trump they can be, the more the more they can be well known as a fighter against Trump, the better their poll numbers will be, especially if they're these old-time Democrats like Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer, who are losing ground because of this mega super far leftist momentum that's coming in the Democrat Party with AOC, with Zoran Mamdani. I don't see them giving up anytime soon.
Understood. We'll talk to Hakeem Jeffries later in the program. I want to ask you about what the president just announced in regard to Canada. Today, the president said he wants to raise tariffs on Mexico. Yesterday, he said he's going to raise tariffs on Canada by 10%. He blames what he called a fraudulent ad that featured Ronald Reagan advocating for free trade. It was put up by the province of Ontario. Is this ad really the issue here, or is it just a tactic in this negotiation? Does the president want the USMCA free trade deal renegotiated, or is he looking to do two separate deals, one with Canada, one with Mexico?
Well, a lot of questions there, Margaret, but let's go to the first one. I've read that the province of Ontario is spending up to $75 million on these advertisements, and it's propaganda coming across our border, to decry the tariffs. So the Premier of Ontario seems to have come off the rails a little. He has taken the ads down. But what's the purpose of that other than to try to sway U.S. public opinion? We've seen I'm sure you at your network have decried election interference. Well, this is interference in U.S. sovereign matters.
But is it really the premise for damaging negotiations with a top trading partner?
Well, it's clearly damaged our relationship with the most populous province in Canada.
Yeah, why is Trump painted as the bad guy for ending trade negotiations when there was negotiations ongoing and Canada themselves, the province of Ontario, the premier who Scott Bessent's talking about, decided to launch this propaganda plan with all these ads while negotiations are ongoing? Who's the one that's trying to sabotage and jump over these negotiations? Is it Trump? Or is it the guys from Ontario who launched this ad? And they launched the ad and plan to launch it in the United States. So who's the one that's going outside the negotiations to have an extra influence? Is it Trump or the guys from Ontario?
When it comes to inflation here at home, the president said it's been defeated. But as you know, that core inflation edged up to 3% in September, less than forecast, hotter than August. But for people at home, they are seeing prices still high on furniture, energy, gardening, lawn care, apparel. Do you expect these things to cool off, and when?
Well, it is cooling off because the core inflation number that you referenced was 0.2%, which is down from the previous sequence over the previous months. And you listed the things that are up, but we're seeing plenty of things that are down, whether it's energy and rents. Inflation's a composite number, and I think we are on a glide path to lower inflation over the coming months.
Lower inflation, but not necessarily that Americans will look around and things have gotten cheaper.
Margaret, again, there's affordability and then there is inflation. So some of the things that can get cheaper, rent has gotten cheaper, mortgages have gotten cheaper. We are at, I believe, an 11 or 12-month low on mortgage rates.
Why didn't she at least acknowledge what he just said about the affordability of mortgages and rents? She just breezes by it. But if he said one little thing that was off, she would go after it like no end. But that's a positive thing about the economy. Did she bring it up? No.
Mr. Secretary, before I let you go, I want to ask you, the U.S. sanctioned Russia's top oil and gas companies this past week. But Vladimir Putin's envoy, who is here in the United States, Kirill Dmitriev, I know you know him, said the sanctions will have, quote, absolutely no effect on Russia's economy. They will simply lead to higher prices at gas stations in the United States. Is Dmitriev wrong? And when will Russia actually feel the pain?
Well, I think Russia is going to feel the pain immediately. I can tell you that we've already seen India has done a complete halt of Russian oil purchases. Many of the Chinese refineries, they have stopped. And, Margaret, are you really going to publish what a Russian propagandist says? I mean, what else is he going to say? That, it's going to be terrible and it's going to bring Putin to the table? Of course. The Russian economy is a wartime economy. Growth is virtually zero. Inflation, I believe, is over 20%. And everything we do is going to bring Putin to the table. It's oil that funds the Russian war machine, and I think we can make a substantial dent in his profits.
I understood you had some competing noise there, but just to be clear, Dmitriev is in the United States because sanctions were lifted on him to conduct meetings here, including with President Trump's envoy, Steve Witkoff. When you say he's a propagandist, do you mean that we shouldn't listen to anything he says?
What do you think is going to happen to him if he goes back home and says the good Lord, what if he had said on TV, this is terrible. President Trump just did the right thing. This is a maximum pressure campaign that's going to work. Margaret, what's he going to say? Of course he's going to say this. If you go through and look at every Russian talking point, they seem to use the word, we have immunized the economy against this. Well, they haven't immunized the economy. Their oil earnings are down 20% year over year. I would suspect that this could take them down another 20 or 30%. So, again, that President Trump was criticized for not doing enough. He takes this bold maneuver, and then you're quoting a Russian propagandist.
All right. We'll leave it there with you. Mr. Secretary, I know you've had a long day. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Oh, take that, Margaret, because it's true. They were on Trump's, you know what, because he wasn't sanctioning Russia. He wasn't standing up to Putin. Now he does it, and she showcases a message from the Russian envoy in the U.S. What else is he going to say? That's a great point by Scott Bessent. She takes the guy's statement like it's a statement of authority, a statement of wisdom on the Russian economy. What else is he going to say? I swear to God, these news people are so dishonest and so stupid. They make me feel great about myself. And if you want to continue feeling good about yourself and watching someone really stupid, check out this interview with Hakeem Jeffries, where Margaret Brennan actually presses him on some of the BS the Democrat Party is doing. I'll see you there.